Hey guys, in this video I'll explain these two kinds of lance gameplay, evasive and offensive. To jump into these kinds of techniques, we need to understand really well the basics of the lance, because here most likely we are going to play with guard 0 and guard up 0. If you wonder why, it is because we need to bring as much damage as possible, because even when we talk about evasive lance, it doesn't mean that we need to play in a passive way. It means that we are going to exploit as much as possible the new skills we have at hand. So let's begin with the offensive playstyle. In Sunbreak it is way easier, because we can rely in two extraordinary switch skills, Instablock and Anchor Rage. This is a powerful combination to buff our weapon and deal damage in huge numbers. This way of playing the lance is quite consistent because we can add many of the classic skills, like critical eye, critical boost, offensive guard, attack boost, and so on. The only catchy thing is that we do not rely in the classic defensive guard skills. Maybe because of comfort, guard 1 and that's it. Obviously for this we need to learn really well how to use Instablock, because if we use it correctly we can activate offensive guard and along the way Anchor Rage, which means an extra 15% attack, and with Anchor Rage another 14%. More or less if we get the golden glow. If you are new with the lance, learning Instablock may require some time, because it is not a friendly switch skill. The way I got used to it was by playing with guard 5 and offensive guard, but trying to perfectly guard attacks. Offensive guard has an activation window really similar to Instablock. Some extra frames, but in its core it's quite similar. After that you may require some extra practice against the monster you are fighting, because you need to learn when to activate the counter attack and when just to cover yourself. Mainly because once you counter, you are committed for some extra seconds, but here is where Anchor Rage comes in handy. You can activate it almost right away. Another cool thing is that these two skills don't consume any stamina. These two switch skills cover our guard need, but what about guard up? Shielding retreat is going to be another skill to rely on. Against afflicted monsters you can use it to avoid whatever you wanna call this thing. And for our luck, this switch skill has an invulnerability window large enough to cheat ourselves. Summarizing this whole kind of gameplay, we need to learn Instablock, Anchor Rage and Shielding Retreat. It is not so complex, perhaps a bit of time and that's it. Now for the evasive lance, in my humble opinion this is a much more complex way to play the lance, because if we messed up our little jumps, we basically receive the whole damage head on. For this kind of gameplay we need evade window level 5, to extend the invulnerability window of our jumps. This doesn't mean we can avoid everything, just to be clear, against afflicted monster it is going to be important to use Shielding Retreat. I've experienced some nasty cards because of that. And I also say it is much more complex because there are some attacks that even when you have jumped through them, they can still connect. So this adds a whole new world of things we need to learn. And sadly, every monster has different ranges of attack. So here my best recommendation is just practice. This kind of gameplay takes much longer because you need to learn when to avoid stepping forward, sideways or backwards. The cool thing is that with the introduction of Lunaragon, we have access to a really useful skill. Adrenaline Rush adds 30 extra points of attack for 30 seconds, and depending which kind of lance we want to use, we can add a status trigger or an elemental weapon. The disadvantage in this whole mess is that we need to choose wisely which skills we want to add. Some people prefer Evade Extender, Blade Scale Hone, Status Trigger, and so on. At the end of the day, the idea is to bring as much damage as possible, because we are investing 5 levels in being able to avoid attacks. And here is where it is important to adapt our gameplay even further. Sure, you can just focus in avoiding attacks, but we are missing Weakness Exploit, Critical Eye, Critical Boost, and those skills bring much more damage than the 30 points we get out of Adrenaline Rush. But what if we combine these two kinds of gameplay, offensive and evasive, into one? Is it possible? Heck, freaking yeah, it is totally possible, and actually it is a powerful, funny, dumb combination to play, because we can stack Adrenaline Rush, Offensive Guard, Anchor Rage, Chain Crit, Agitator, Sneak Attack, along with our classic crits. Obviously here we need to use effectively all our switch skills and jumps. As dumb as this combination sounds, it is actually really powerful. The main disadvantage is that we do not have a way to preserve our sharpness, for that long at the very least, but I am sure that you PC players can manually add some blade scale, and oof, this thing is going to be magnificent. I hope this video is useful for all of you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.